guys, my name is Dan Guest, president of Guest Plumbing and Heating. Welcome to the second episode of The Guest Life, an entrepreneurial lifestyle podcast where we talk about, getting different people involved from the community. Anything that we can give back, we love to. So today we have the opportunity to have Natalie Porcaro of Porcaro Law, and we want to know a little bit about her. So welcome to The Guest Life.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. Hi, Dan's mom.
Tell us a bit about yourself, Natalie. We brought you on because you're a strong, independent woman in the community, and we want to know more about you.
Well, I hope I live up to the hype, that's for sure. But I am a lawyer practicing in Hamilton and Stoney Creek and Burlington, and I practice real estate, so corporate and commercial, corporate and business law, and then wills and estates as well. So yeah, it's pretty much what I've done for the last 7-8 years. I've been out on my own for about the last 2.5 and been really, really loving life, living my best life doing that, that's for sure. Yeah.
Best life, and you got a new office coming in soon?
I do. It's under construction and it should be ready by the end of the month or early March. So I'm really excited to move in there because we'll have lots of new space for lots more staff, and I've got a team ready to go by the end of the month. So it'll be nice because we'll hit spring and summer, kind of busy real estate season with a proper full staff, and it'll be good. I'm pumped about it. Yeah.
And that's a big part of your business is real estate?
A big part of the business is real estate for sure. What's nice about real estate is that my staff can help me out a lot with real estate, and then I can dedicate my time to doing corporate and wills and estates and some other stuff as well. So I would say for me it's probably about 50-50, but practice-wise, it's probably about 60-40 in terms of real estate, corporate, commercial. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more to Natalie because I know her off stage as well. So tell me a bit about your, how you balance, being at home as well as, being an entrepreneur, being from Hamilton, having an office in Hamilton.
Yeah. So with respect to Hamilton, I didn't love Hamilton growing up. I grew up in East End Hamilton. I'm an alumni of Churchill. I went to Ballard.
Okay.
And so I'm from the heart of that community, and I still think that's a great community. But when I kind of left Hamilton to go away to school thinking I probably won't be back. And when I went away is really when I realized how much I loved Hamilton and the community we built here. And sometimes, people would say things like, oh, Hamilton, the armpit of Canada or something. And I go, excuse me? Because it was almost like my kid brother. You don't get to talk about Hamilton that way, okay? So for me, it really I went to Ottawa and I loved it. I loved it there. But I definitely was raring to come back. So It was really nice to set official roots here with my own family and my business. And I love Hamilton. I think it's great. I think it's got a really collegial bar in terms of lawyers to work with. And lots of, it's got quite a pulse too, right? Lots of business professionals doing lots of cool, fun stuff, and interesting stuff. So it's definitely a cool place to be. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate enough to meet Natalie a couple years ago on a business entrepreneurial boat cruise with some mutual clients, and that's kind of where our relationship took off. Mm-hmm. And now getting to know you, I know you're not really getting into the nitty gritty of balancing. She's a mother also, guys.
Yes.
I forgot about her kids there.
Yes, just momentarily.
Yeah. Guys, it's late in the day. Our first podcast was 9 a.m. on a Saturday, and this one, she said she had to take the kids to swimming, so this is Wednesday evening now, so the times are changing a little bit.
Wednesday evening, yeah. No, so I do have 2 young kids. I've got a 5-year-old and a 2.5-year-old going on a 30-year-old. She's super fun and super sassy, and I love them to death, and I'm married. I have a husband, and we have a great family. But it's a bit of a challenge for sure.
Yeah.
I'm self-employed, my husband's self-employed, so it can be a bit of a challenge to figure out who's taking the kids where and when, and who's doing pickups and drop-offs. So we have a pretty rigid schedule, I'd say, but also quite flexible, because even though we try to schedule as much as we can, when I get the kids' schedule from school, I'm putting it into my schedule. So right along with meeting with Dan Guest, you're also going to see Isaac Cozy Sweater Day, right? Because I try to keep it all under wraps. But it was definitely flexible because things change. Sometimes I have an emergency, or my husband has, work and it can't be rearranged. And so we try our best to schedule around each other, and where we can't, we have family to gap fill, which is awesome. We have great in-laws. I have amazing family, so everybody helps gap fill for sure. And Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a challenge, for sure. I guess well, I'm going to say, yeah, time management is obviously key. I feel like that's kind of a bullshit answer because time management, is a problem for everybody.
Yeah.
One of the ways that I found to really maximize my time management and be most efficient was over the course of kind of the last 10, 15 years, I've really been learning a lot more about my personality and being really honest with myself in terms of who I am, how my personality actually ticks, what my strengths are, just admitting what my weaknesses are. So I spent a lot of my 20s trying to keep up with extroverts, going their schedules are crazy. And when I book that kind of schedule, why am I so exhausted? This is crazy.
Yeah.
And then somebody pointed out to me once, kind of in my late 20s, and said, you're not an extrovert. You're an introvert that masquerades as an extrovert. And it just was mind-blowing to me, right? Because
that little statement, eh?
Yeah, because I realized I love to be social and I love to be around people and talk to people and communicate with people. It's not about that. It's just about how I recharge my battery is truly to retreat. I need to book that time away from everybody, just my husband, my kids. Even if it's 15 minutes to, a shower to myself where I lock the door, I need to retreat. So it helped for me because then I knew, okay, so if I'm going to have a day with stacked meetings, just back to back to back to back to back, I know that maybe that evening or the next morning, I need to book a small block of time where it's nothing. I can just get caught up on, computer stuff. I don't have to talk to anybody. And then I was able to recharge my battery and then maximize for the next stack of appointments or whatever the case may be. Right. So I think that if you can
That's
really,
huge.
truly, learn a little bit about your personality and just be super honest with yourself in terms of not necessarily the personality you want to be, but what you're hardwired to do. And then I do think people can change, but I also think that you're hardwired a certain way. And if you can kind of work within the ambit of that and maximize your strengths, you can be super efficient. So I've tried to apply that to how I schedule my time. And I might have a bookings, straight for 2 weeks, but then boom, I know I just need a day or half a day that I can look forward to. Sometimes that's only a couple hours a month, but it's something, right, that I can just kind of look forward to and put my head down and work and know that I'm going to have that time to recharge, right? So that's kind of how what I try to do with the kids so that I can also maximize, because there's no sense in spending time with your kids if you're going to sit there and stare at the wall, right? You want to be engaging with them and be kind of present with them. And so I try to compartmentalize work and kids so that way when I'm with them, and spending that time with them. Yeah.
And I bet some entrepreneurs that are going to be listening to this are going to say, you get 3 hours a month?
Yeah.
And for everybody else, depending on who you are listening, and we want to make this out for not entrepreneurs, it's to everybody. And, it's to mothers or fathers or, people that are just getting into business or the trades or whatever. Time management efficiencies are huge, and also getting back to your core values.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's
and
so
also,
interesting.
This is a little less deep, but outsourcing what you can. I'm a Prime girl. I'm an Amazon Prime girl. I am an Instacart grocery girl. Anything that can be delivered to my house that I don't have to go there and do that. That's great.
I think, so valuing your time.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that's amazing. And I think, when you cherish those moments with loved ones, and also I think being an entrepreneur, you cherish work.
Yeah. No, work is my third baby, right? I love my business. My business is my baby. And I'm constantly if I'm not doing something work related, I'm thinking about my business. I'm thinking about ways to grow it. I'm thinking about ways to make it more efficient. You're thinking about, some new silly storage system that you think would work best for, you're always thinking about it. But I love it. So I think also, that's key. If you're doing something that you don't really love to do, you don't want to think about it all the time. And I do. Sometimes it's almost okay, you're getting silly now. It's time to shut this off. But I think if you love your business, and you're truly committed to it, you've burned the boats, you're all in.
There's only one option.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. It's swim.
Yeah, it's swim because sinking's not an option.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. I think I just you hit a lot of points in terms of communication and how you manage everything. How did you get started in saying hey, I wanted to open my own practice in law and being I don't want to say I would say male dominant industry, but
Yeah.
you know, I think that's changing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you're attested to that. So
Yeah, it you know what, it was a long road for me. I came out of law school. I had been working in the legal sphere for a long time, like even through undergrad and high school.
Oh, okay.
I volunteered at law firms and legal aid, and then before locally, yeah.
Oh, wow,
yeah,
good for you.
Yeah, and then I got a job at a law firm, and I was doing predominantly criminal work. So this was through undergrad, and so when I went into law school, I thought, like, I'm here with blinders on. I want to be a criminal law lawyer, and that's that. And then when I got exposed to different areas of law, I ended up going to a different firm on an internship and loved it there. So in Hamilton, and that's where I basically became what I say I was kind of born as a lawyer, because I was there as a baby, and then slowly learned to crawl and then walk and and so forth until I was running. And for me, it just it was a bit of my husband, my parents, all self-employed. So they were pushing me for years, like, break out on your own, break out on your own, break out on your own. I was like, no, I have no interest in doing that. I just want to do the law. That's it.
The law.
I just want to do the
law.
And
I love that.
the law. And so it was a while, and then finally, throughout law school, it's kind of a mentality: you got to be partner, got to be partner, got to be partner, got to be partner. And so you kind of chase that carrot, right? You put your head down, and you chase it. And then when it kind of became around the time that I should start be thinking about it, I thought, like, do I want to be a partner? I don't know that I do.
Yeah.
And so I thought I really did some soul searching, and then with a push from kind of a lot of people that supported me, they said, like, you can do this. Like, you can definitely do this. You've got enough of a client book on your own. Like, this is your personality. Everything you touch, you just work hard, and one way or another, it ends up being successful because you just work hard at it, right? Until there's no other option.
Yeah.
And so that was that. So I with a mutual friend, I decided I was going to move to Stoney Creek. A mutual friend hooked me up with another lawyer down there that had some space. So, so I moved into a space, and that was that. Just started kind of practicing on my own, and then slowly, actually, I shouldn't say slowly. It was actually rather quickly through
We're talking a very short amount of time.
Yeah. So it's only been about 2.5 years.
That's short in business.
Yeah, I guess it is actually. Yeah, it feels like a lifetime, I guess. But it just business started growing and growing and growing and growing and growing until I needed to add more staff and more staff and more staff. And so that's where I'm at with the new space, is that I just outgrew the space I was in, and I needed room for more staff. So it was like, well, if I'm going to move, like, let's do it, and let's get a nice big space we can definitely grow into. We can add we can add all kinds of staff down the line. So so that's kind of how I ended up going into business on my own. It was definitely a slow burn for me. It was about 5 years of mulling it over and thinking, I don't know, and and then finally I just took the leap, I guess, so to speak.
Jumped gracefully.
Yeah.
There's a couple ways of saying
it.
What was there any struggles being a female kind of jumping out? Was that in your head, or is that like no, I'm a person and I'm going to do what I want?
You know what? That kind of thing never really. This is going to sound kind of crazy, but it didn't really bother me too much before I had a daughter. So I worked, predominantly doing the area of law that I'm in. I mean, women are, there's definitely a strong presence of women in the legal community. A lot of it is young lawyers. So I think there was a study a couple years ago, and about 60% of young lawyers are women. So there's not a lot of retention there, though. And I think it's because it is tough to manage a family and manage, a successful legal career. So sometimes, I won't speak for every woman, but a lot of women kind of find themselves in litigation or family law, in areas of law where you're kind of on the court schedule, so it closes at 5, and so it's a bit more family geared to having a family or a young family. So definitely it's a boys' club. I think being in kind of corporate commercial, there are a lot of women in real estate, but it can be tough sometimes, to kind of enter a room and sometimes be the only female there. But it never really bothered me that much. You just kind of don't think about it that much. And then once I had a daughter, I realized, I became much more cognizant of the fact that I was a woman and that there was sometimes some barriers there or some assumptions about me. And then I felt this burning responsibility to try to at least help pave the way, maybe for all little girls, but even just her, right? Just hopefully that she won't have to deal with some of the shit that I deal with sometimes, you know? And I mean, one of the things that I get all the time, and so if anybody's listening to this that's ever asked me this, please don't be super offended or anything, but because most of the time, like 90% of the time, this is not ill-intentioned, but constantly I get, is your husband a lawyer? Is your dad a lawyer? And no, just me. Just woke up one day and just decided to be a lawyer.
I'm the crazy one.
Yeah, just me. So, those are the types of things. Nobody is ever meaning to say that to offend me, but it's just, I think, indicative of the society that we live in and kind of that framework that women have to deal with. That there is an assumption that I wouldn't just get up one day and decide to do this, right? Someone must have influenced me somehow, and so
that's a really interesting point that you say that.
So for me, I'm just trying my best to kind of do what I can to change that perception for as many people as I can, so that maybe one day nobody asks her if her dad's a lawyer.
Yeah.
You know, maybe someone asks her if her mom is.
Yeah, we'll make that happen for
yeah.
sure. That's so interesting. I think, being female in the industry, like, on my side of things, like everybody and their brothers, your dad must have been in the industry.
For sure.
Right? I think it doesn't just come in, I'm sure you get it a lot with being female in the industry, but I think in business and being young, like you're very young and you're very vibrant. And not to, throw everybody out, but like she's got her shit together. Right? Like, she's very... It appears
that way.
Yeah, well, it's all chaos in the back, but like she's got her shit together and she carries herself very well. And I think, business owners in general, you've got to kind of have that mask on sometimes when it's not going well. So I think, one of the questions that I have for you, I don't know if any of the listeners are going to ask the same thing, but like, how have you switched from, female in law, you're in an area where you are, it's predominantly men, there's a lot of female lawyers, but how do you manage now being a business owner? Because you're a lawyer, but you also employ people. You pay taxes. Yeah. Now you're going to have a space. How does that play into roles?
Yeah. I think that's why people ask me a lot of the time, like, is it your dad's firm? Because again, I think there's just the natural assumption is not, and you're right, it could be an age thing too. Like if it's interesting to see that you're getting some of that response as well.
Yeah.
But my parents were business owners, and my parents had a very, I guess, untraditional role. Like they had almost a role reversal, where my dad did a lot of the cooking and cleaning. My mom did a lot of the business end of things. So she was doing the invoicing, she was doing the books and the payroll and all that. So for me, it seemed very normal, like, and my dad just did that because he's not a great numbers guy. So you said, okay, well, if you're doing that, you're busy. So I guess I'll pick up the slack elsewhere. So this is what needs to be done. So I'll do this. And I think that that's great. And so and that was long before, that this is back in the 80s and 90s or whatever. So I don't think they meant to have any sort of, very postmodern family or anything, but it just naturally, I think that just kind of happened just out of sheer, this is what has to be done, so somebody's got to do it. And being a woman as a business owner, it can be tough for sure. Again, I think there are a lot of assumptions made about you. It's so funny. I was just watching an episode of Shark's Tank the other day, and Barbara Corcoran made a comment about crying, and I did tend to agree with it. I think that men can sometimes have big, mega temper tantrums. Huge. Like I've worked for some men that had full-blown temper tantrums, and nobody said a thing. Everybody did what they told them to do. And I think if a woman did that, or cried, or stamped their feet, or whatever the case may be, there would be a complete lack of respect. Mm-hmm. So I think as a business owner, it can be tough to not only get respect, but maintain it.
Yeah.
And you have to constantly deliver, and you have to constantly deliver in a very unemotional way. Not to say that, I've never cried, but it's always privately.
Yeah.
And I don't think that...
Same.
Are you
Same, guys.
It's got a tear in his eye right now.
That's not a female thing. That's everybody.
Yeah. And I do think that's everybody. I don't think that just applies to females. I think that applies to everybody.
Oh, I cry all the time.
But
yeah, it's really hard.
In the shower.
Yeah. It's like, those aren't tears. Those are laughs.
But I do think that there's a little extra pressure on women to be to be a little less emotional, because there's just a natural assumption that women are emotional, so therefore they cannot handle big business problems or something like that.
Yeah, I can totally see that's That'd be, a really general stigma.
Yeah.
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 Across the board, really.
Yeah. So that's kind of my aim. Like, I'm not trying to change the world or anything, but I'm just kind of hoping that within my community, at least, that, and I mean, and I deal with a lot of great men, and I find that men, of our generation, like your age, and are, they don't really have an issue with it at all. It's sometimes, sometimes elderly generations. It just depends on the situation, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge point. I think, as business grows, the pressure's higher, and, it's a lot easier. We always find, like, it's easy to yell. It's hard to deal with problems. And, yelling doesn't get you anywhere. And I think it's a sign of weakness.
Yelling, crying, all of that. It's not solutions oriented.
No.
It drives me nuts when that's the the response to something, and that's something my assistant's fantastic at. Is if something happens and a mistake is made, it's not like, oh no, what are we gonna do? It's okay. This is what I did to fix it. 1, 2, 3. Just tell me which way you want to go here, and this is what happened, and that boom, and it's done, right? And that's what you need, and I think that's the way you have to approach business too, because things are gonna happen. Pitfalls are going to happen. Things you least expect are going to happen. And it doesn't pay anybody to sit and cry or have a temper tantrum or be totally uncommunicative. Mm-hmm. You have to compartmentalize those feelings and deal with it in a rational way. Sometimes easier said than done. But.
Well, especially, I'm sure with law, like it's, there's big dollars on the line.
Sure.
Dealing with some pretty serious cases, I'm sure.
Tight timelines, big dollars, and and I mean, and client expectations, and there's a lot of kind of interest sometimes at play, and sometimes you really got to stand your ground. I mean, Hamilton has a pretty collegial bar, which is really nice. It's really nice to be able to call up most of the lawyers around here and go like, hey, okay, this is the issue we have. Like, how are we going to work this out?
That's great.
But I mean, sometimes that's not the case, and sometimes it can come. Like, it doesn't often, but sometimes it can become combative, and so again, you have to maintain the respect level, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
What so how did you build your team out? Like, where, as a lawyer, building out an office, where do you start? Where do you stop? Like, tell.
Yeah, well, it's trial and error, I think, a little bit.
Okay.
So definitely, I will say, as a business owner, I learned some lessons in the beginning about hiring, and I don't think I paid enough attention to the hiring process. Now we have a different system in place, and I've done, some sharpen my axe a bit in that regard to try and bring on a great team. I have a wonderful primary real estate assistant who I refer to as my sister wife. If I had a choice between my husband and her, it would be tough. She is fantastic, so beyond fantastic, and she not only runs things from the real estate point of view, but she's also if she sees I have back-to-back meetings, she's bringing lunch in for me, and in between meetings going, take 2 bites, please. She's that type of person.
Wow.
So she's a great caretaker, and I love her to death. And from there, fleshing out the team is, you just have to figure out what the needs are, right? So where are we growing? Where do we want to grow? Now that I've had a few years in business, I can see some of the cyclical, okay, we get really busy at this time with this. We're not so busy at this time with this.
Yeah.
So, you need to have the proper staff in place for the certain upheavals and making sure that that's all in place. So, I mean, right now, we definitely were splitting up a lot of the general admin work. And so now we're bringing on someone to do full-time, just general admin, not legal stuff really at all.
Really?
Yeah, just because there's just so much stuff related to the business itself that really, I'm at a point where I can't be using my time on that. And I can't be using my staff time that, that have specialties in real estate or corporate or whatever the case may be. So it's nice to be able to kind of, it's like it's a bit scary sometimes. Like, you go, gulp, I have to pay that person's mortgage. Oh my God. But at the same time, that's what drives you to just do more and more and more. Yeah. So when you ask me, where do you stop? There is no stopping. Like, that's
creating opportunities.
Yeah. I don't really see, a place to stop. And frankly, the space that I'm in should suffice, and I can build out the team to rather large. But that said, that doesn't mean that I could stop there. Maybe I have more than one office, or maybe, if I'm at a point where that space is too small, then fantastic, let's get a new space. Like, I'm not I have no limit. Never have
I love that. I love hearing that.
Yeah.
We're both psychotic.
Yeah, exactly. Not mildly, maybe more than that.
Maybe a little bit more. And I think, giving opportunities. So, talking about opportunities, say, we're talking to, we have a huge, thing going on with the youth in terms of like where people are going to go. Are they going to go to university? Are they going to get into the trades?
Yeah.
What advice would you give to, someone in high school or middle school or even university that's thinking maybe law is for me, maybe not, female, male? How would they start? Where do you start?
The only thing I would say is get good grades. If you got good grades, you can do anything you want.
Okay.
If you don't get good grades, then you start closing doors, right? When you get good grades, then at the end of your high school tenure, you can decide what you want to do. And I also don't think that necessarily means going to university or going to college, because there are a lot of useless degrees. Like, let's face it, my degree in undergrad is in English, and that's pretty useless unless you're going to go on and do something else, right?
Yeah.
So for me, when I originally went into undergrad, I went in for psychology.
Okay.
And I beat my head against the wall studying for calculus. Like, just beat my head against the wall. I went to every practice session. I had a tutor, like, you name it. And I went into this exam. I studied so hard, and I got a D. I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? A D? I was like, this is insane. I want to go to law school. And on my way I took English as a elective.
Okay.
And English literature, because I just enjoyed reading. And on my way to my first exam in English, I got my first car accident. I was 17. I got my first car accident. And so the whole exam, I was in my parents' truck, and so I was bawling. The whole exam, that was the time I cried in public, because I was scared. I was like, oh my God, I gotta tell them the grill's demolished.
Before it was Porcaro Law.
Oh my God. Yeah, exactly. Before there was Porcaro Law, there was Natalie, and she cried in exams. and so I wrote this exam bawling and got an A. And so for me, I thought, okay, what do I actually want to do here? If I'm going to law school, I need good grades. It makes no sense to mess around with psychology and beat my head against the wall with math. So let's just do what I'm good at, which is English literature. So that's what I did. So what I would say is, if somebody wants to go on, do what you love to do for undergrad, but just make sure that you have a game plan so that if you end up not getting into grad school, that you don't have a completely useless degree too, right?
Yeah.
So I do think that there is a great opportunity there for youth to go into trades, because there is going to be a huge hole in the market, and I think that would be fantastic. So I don't think there should be pressure on kids to just go to school and get a political science degree for the sake of getting a degree.
Yeah.
I would not push that on my kids. Like, my kids can do whatever they want to do. My son's really into building.
Yep.
So I think it'd be great if he wanted to be an engineer, but I think it'd be equally great if he wanted to, be a mechanic or be a plumber, whatever makes him happy, and as long as he just works really hard at it.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure be able to instill that in them. I think it's interesting to see the differences between kind of, where to send the kids, and also I think it's a great advice in terms of, get good grades in something that you're capable of getting good grades at, if that's an undergrad for you.
Yeah.
Where'd you go to university?
Mac.
You went to Mac, okay.
Yeah.
And where'd you go to law school?
U of O, University of Ottawa.
Oh, wow, okay. So how many years does that take from start to finish?
So, like, for law school?
Yeah.
So, if you include articles, so after you come out of law school, you have to write the bar exam, and then you do, 10 months of articling, which is basically like, if you were a doctor, it'd be like interning.
Okay.
So it's basically like you're a lawyer, but with a nice, like, safety net, right? So you have, like, a principal. That whole process is 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah. It seems long, but it really didn't feel that long at the time. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I went into undergrad. I was 17 at the time, so it really it was too young to go. In retrospect,
crying
really
at the meetings.
Yeah, really.
Going to the exams in tears. Yeah, maybe Yeah. Probably shouldn't have been driving either, but whatever.
Probably not. Yeah. Hence
at least you weren't drinking yet, so that's good.
Right. Wasn't drinking.
That's awesome. So tell us, you're very involved in the community. Mm-hmm. Being from Hamilton, obviously you left and came back, and I think that's big. I mean, sometimes traveling to other places or being involved in other communities, you value how much your community is actually great.
Yeah.
And I think Hamilton has a really good has really good roots, and I think we're only getting better by having professionals like yourself kind of stay in the community and kind of keep supporting the community, whether it's buying a house or writing a will
Yeah.
that we're going to be doing soon. So, you know, what I know you do some stuff. So tell us a little bit about how you give back to your community.
Yeah. So I've had some involvement with Food for Kids, which I think is a great organization. Like I can barely talk about it without getting teary-eyed.
Yeah.
Because it just breaks my heart to think about you know, a kid being hungry. I don't know if it's my love for food or kids or both, but it just, you know, really breaks my heart to think about that. So yeah, I've had some involvement with them. I should have more involvement with them going forward. It's reminding me. And I'm also on the board for Habitat for Humanity. And
Awesome.
yeah, and they're great. I've been with them about 2 years now, I think. And yeah, they build houses locally in the community, and then we're connected to the more international Habitat that builds houses abroad as well. What I love about it is like the international stuff I think is fantastic, and a lot of the board members do have participated in like the international builds, and they said it was absolutely life-changing.
Yeah.
I'm not in a place where I can do that right now with young kids, but maybe down the line that would be something I'd love to do.
Yeah, and a business.
I love to help the community that we're in. I think it's so great to see actual like real life Hamiltonians, you know, getting their dreams of home ownership being achieved. I think it's fantastic. It often gets them into better neighborhoods, and if they have kids, they get to go to better schools. Like it's a real kind of domino effect. And if you look at some of the research, it's awesome. So it's great because I have this really unique skill set, you know, being able to close real estate transactions and help out with, you know, general business matters and stuff like that. So it's there's not many ways I can use that to give back to people. So Habitat is like this perfect little, like, it's just, you know, the perfect little peg that fits. And yeah, so I'm able to kind of use those skills to help them. And it's wonderful. So, and they have lots of opportunities to, you know, get involved.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they have the Restore. We're hoping to open a second Restore, hopefully in the Ancaster area, hopefully soon. But they have the Restore at Barton and Nash in East Hamilton.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they take donations. So if you're ripping out kitchens or, you know, getting rid of any kind of stuff, you can give them a call and they come and pick it up. So I'm not sure if a lot of people know about that. And they always need trades to, you know, donate services, time, equipment, and you get, you know, a nice little tax receipt in return. So it's a good way to kind of keep crews moving if there are, you know, some downtime. And they often have build days too, where they you know, they say, okay, like this Saturday or whatever the case may be, we're going to have a build day and people can just come out and volunteer. And I believe there might be a little bit of red tape there that I'm probably skipping. But if you are interested in, you know, if anyone is listening that's interested in donating or volunteering or anything, then feel free to connect with me and I can put you in touch with the right people.
That is just fantastic.
Yeah.
I was actually able to volunteer for them back in the day when I was an apprentice.
Nice.
Yeah, it was, you know, my old company did some giving back with them. So we, you know, go in Saturday, Sunday, roughing the house. So that's fantastic that you're so involved. I mean, mother, wife, business owner, lawyer, big part of our community. Thank you so much, Natalie, for coming. How do people get in touch with you? The best and easiest way?
Best and easiest way is through the website or email. So website is porcarolaw.ca, email natalie@porcarolaw.ca, or you can call us 905-963-8808. But yeah, send me an email. I'm like, it's like an appendage. So pretty good at getting back to it pretty quick.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. I'll be putting a link in our bio at Porcaro Law as well. So thanks again, Natalie, so much. It's been
Thanks
such a
for
pleasure.
having me.
And,
Yeah,
I
an
know
honor.
our listeners will get a lot of value from you, and you know, you're always inspiring to so many people, including myself.
That's so sweet. Thank you so much.